جزاؤهم عند ربهم جنات عدن تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه ذلك لمن خشي ربه صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات.
جهت تأجیل در فرج آقای امام زمان صلوات.
بر محمد و آل محمد بلند صلوات. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فسبحان الله حين تمسون وحين تصبحون وله الحمد في السماوات والأرض وعشيا وحين تظهرون يخرج الحي من الميت ويخرج الميت من الحي ويحيي الأرض بعد موتها وكذلك تخرجون ومن آياته أن خلقكم من تراب ثم إذا أنتم بشر تنتشرون ومن آياته أن خلقكم من تراب ثم إذا أنتم
بشر تنتشرون ومن آياته أن خلقكم من تراب ثم إذا أنتم بشر تنتشرون ومن آياته أن خلقكم من تراب ثم إذا أنتم بشر تنتشرون ومن آياته أن خلقكم من تراب ثم إذا أنتم بشر تنتشرون ومن آياته أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يتفكرون ومن آياته خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف ألسنتكم وألوانكم إن في ذلك لآيات للعالمين ومن آياته منامكم بالليل والنهار وابتغاؤكم من فضله إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يسمعون ومن آياته يريكم البرق خوفا وطمعا وينزل من السماء إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يعقلون ومن آياته أن تقوم السماء والأرض بأمره ثم إذا دعاكم دعوة من الأرض إذا أنتم تخرجون وله من في السماوات والأرض كل له قانتون وهو الذي يبدأ الخلق ثم يعيده وهو أهون عليه وله المثل الأعلى في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم وهو الذي يبدأ الخلق ثم يعيده وهو أهون عليه وله المثل الأعلى في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر بنعمة ربك فحدث لا إله إلا الله والله نشرح لك صدرك فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنقر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث لا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولله الحمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك على رسول الله وآله الأطهار هم أبوهم على رسول الله وآله الأطهار أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد.
Beautiful recitation, mashallah, brother Muhammad Fahim Akbar. We have a small speech by our sister Khadija, and then after that we'll start with the lecture, inshallah. Sister Khadija.
Assalamu alaikum. The title of my poem is At Your Service. He made us stand in Karbala, son of Ali Hussein, Sunni Fatunajati. Hussein is my shining star from whom I can't stay far. Hussein's light brightens my day when I put my head on his clay. Bi Abi Anita wa Ummi wa Nasifi wal Hayi wa Malai. I'm ready to support you and reprieve the call of Ashur. Bi Abi Anita wa Ummi wa Nasifi wal Hayi wa Malai. I was not there to help you then, but I would have loved to join your men. Love means to bow to wherever you ask to, knowing that you are Abba, you, Abba Abdullah. Abba Abdullah, Ya Hussein Malawala, Ya Hussein Malawala. Alayka salam. Labbaik Ya Hussein. Labbaik Ya Mahdi. Salawat.
Good job, Sister Khadija. Please recite the salawat for Sister Khadija, Brother Mahdi, and our dear Qari, Muhammad Fahim Akbar. Please recite a loud salawat. Please welcome our dear respected scholar, Hujjatul Islam, Sheikh Muhammad Abbas Panju to the member with a loud salawat.
رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله بارئ الخلائق الأجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء، حبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ثم الصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، لا سيما ولي الله الحجة ابن الحسن صاحب الأمر والزمان. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه. روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وعلى غاصبي حقوقهم وعلى منكري فضائلهم من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين. آمين رب العالمين. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة. يا غريب الغرباء، يا مظلوم كربلاء، السلام على من جعل الله الشفاء في تربته، السلام على من الإجابة تحت قبته، السلام على ساكن كربلاء فيا ليتنا ثم يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي يا سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما أما بعد قال مولانا إمام أبو الحسن الرضا صلوات الله وسلامه عليه إن لكل إمام في عنق أوليائه وشيعته أحدا وإن من تمام الوفاء بالعهد وحسن الأداء زيارة قبورهم صدق الإمام وآمنا به زينوا مجالسكم بذكر محمد وآل محمد أحبائي, indeed one of the most grandest institutions in our religion is the institution of ziyarah. The ziyarah of Ahlul Bayt in general and the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein in particular. And you find that the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein is that institution that has an impact on our affairs in the dunya as well as the akhirah. Ziyarah is one of those important aspects of this deen that change your destiny in the dunya as well as the akhirah. And if you were to refer to a number of the hadith that have been narrated in regards to the importance and the grandeur of the ziyarah of Sayyid al-Shuhada, you find that the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein in affairs of the dunya is that one aspect through which, or that one aspect which determines our lifespan. How long a person lives in this dunya is determined in ziyarah. You find that the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein has an impact on our rizq, on the amount of livelihood that is granted to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is in the affairs of the dunya. In the affairs of the akhirah, your compliance to ziyarah has an effect at the time of death, sakarat al-maut, has an impact upon you when you are lowered into the grave on that first night, has an impact on your masir and your destiny in alam al-barzakh, has an impact when you are raised from your graves on the day of judgment, and has an impact ultimately when you will enter Jannah and what level you will enter at Jannah. Because we have within the Quran, Yawmul Qiyamah, one day from the day of judgment is equivalent to 50,000 years in this dunya. For a person sahih might enter into Jannah, but when he will enter into Jannah from this day one to this 50,000 years, you can consider this as an express lane into Jannah. Entry into this express lane is earned at the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein. For you find that the institution of ziyarah is perhaps one of the grandest institutions within our deen. And it is important for us to understand the significance for what this ziyarah symbolizes. Tonight, inshallah, for the purpose of tonight's majlis, I would like to explore with you 3 dimensions of what the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein represents. And inshallah, the aim is that this does not only become a reason for us to perform the ziyarah with a higher level of ma'rifah, But in addition to this, it becomes an encouragement for those of us who are still not decided on whether we will perform the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein this Arba'in or not. So inshallah, the idea is that an explanation of this institution becomes a reason of shawq, encouragement and determination to visit Sayyid al-Shuhada. All of this with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ahibba'i, what does the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein represent? Hadith al-Sharif, which is narrated on authority of Maulana Imam Abul Hassan Ali ibn Musa al-Ridha Ruhi lahu al-Fida, in the text Kamilu Ziyarat. Kamilu Ziyarat bain al-Qawsayn, between brackets, is a text that was written by Sheikh ibn Qawlawayh. Sheikh ibn Qawlawayh, by the way, is one of the teachers of Sheikh al-Mufid. And it is narrated that Sheikh ibn Qawlawayh himself, in the introduction to his book Kamilu Ziyarat, states that all the hadith that he has mentioned in regards to the ziyarah and the institution of Aza when it comes to Imam al-Hussein is narrated by those scholars and by those narrators who had the highest level of credibility. For you find that Kitab Kamilu Ziyarat, being one of the oldest and authentic texts that we have, in essence is a text that reflects the fiqh of ziyarah and the fiqh of azadari. You have within the Hawza Ilmiya, ulama of the past would have ahkam fiqhiyya extracted, and a book from the book Kamilu Ziyarat. It is a book that was used for istidlal. Kamilu Ziyarat is a text which is also available in English, it is available online, it is available in Farsi, and it is important, all of us, Shabab khasatan, that we take time to study the book Kamilu Ziyarat by Ibn Qawlawayh, the teacher of Sheikh Mufid. And Ham Ibn Qawlawayh, he is buried in Kadhmain, in the Haram al-Sharif of Imam al-Kadhim and Imam al-Jawad. You will find the grave of Sheikh Ibn Qawlawayh next to his student Sheikh al-Mufid. Fahatman, when you go to Baghdad inshallah and you are blessed with the ziyarah in Kadhmain, do recite Surah Al-Fatiha for Sheikh Mufid and Sheikh Ibn Qawlawayh. In any case, Sheikh Ibn Qawlawayh narrates this hadith on authority of the 8th Imam, where Imam al-Ridha explains to us what the institution of ziyarah represents. He says, Inna likulli imamin fi unuki awliyaihi wa shi'atihi ahdan. Every imam, in regards to his Shi'as and his lovers, every imam in regards to his Shi'as and lovers possesses a covenant, meaning that everyone who claims to be a lover of the imam, anyone who claims to be a Shi'a of the imam, he is bound by a covenant with that imam. A covenant, yani a pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance, yani bay'ah. So every lover and every Shia is bound with the pledge of allegiance and a covenant with his imams. Imam al-Ridha then goes on to say, وَإِنَّ مِن تَمَامِ الْوَفَى بِالْعَهْدِ وَحُسْنُ الْأَدَى زِيَارَةَ قُبُورِهِمْ. And indeed, one of the best manners in which this covenant is upheld and this covenant, this bay'ah, this pledge of allegiance is fulfilled is through the performance of their ziyarah, visiting their graves. So from here we understand, Ahibba'i, that the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein represents a pledge of allegiance and the bay'ah. Enter, when you leave your home, and you embark upon this long journey of going towards Karbala, when you undertake this pain, when you make the sacrifice of leaving behind your family if you are not traveling together, when you go through the trouble of spending from your earnings or from your savings, rather the hadith says, even if you take loan and you incur a debt for the sake of visiting Imam al-Hussein, these are tokens and aspects of love that reflect your pledge of allegiance to the Imam. When it comes to pledging allegiance to the Ma'soom Imam, there is absolutely no slacking. You find that when it comes to the institution of ziyarah, the hadith that have been narrated by the Ma'soom Imam in regards to ziyarah outweigh even that which is narrated for Hajj. If you refer back to the Ahkam Fiqhiyya and you refer back to the Manasikul Hajj, we have from one of the conditions of Hajj, istita'a. Istita'a means your financial ability to perform the Hajj. So if a person, for example, if the Hajj costs $6,000, $7,000, and you do not have that amount of money, and by the way, istita'a also encompasses not only your $7,000 to go for Hajj, but should also encompass your financial budget to be able to sustain your living costs and your expenses for the coming year. Not that somebody goes for Hajj, spends $7,000, and then exposes his family to hunger and poverty because he doesn't have anything else for the rest of the year. La istita'a means full financial budgeting where he has enough expenses to cater for his family after performing the Hajj. However, when you come to the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein, it is the total opposite. Even if a person does not possess money, the Imam says, even if you incur a debt, go and visit Imam al-Hussein. Loyalty to the Ma'soom Imam and the institution of ziyarah, there is a qaida. Keep this qaida in your mind. The greater the hardship in fulfilling the covenant with the Imam, the greater the reward and the more purer and stauncher the relationship with the Imam. There is no greater honor in life. There is no greater honor in life than to incur hardship in the way of Ahlul Bayt. There is no greater honor than to incur difficulty in the path of Imam al-Hussein. The real sweetness of wilayah is experienced during hardship. And to lovers of Imam al-Hussein, when you come and you commemorate the majalis of Imam al-Hussein, the aza of Imam al-Hussein, and you are absolutely tired and shattered, and the next day when you go to work at the peak of your tiredness and the peak of you're sleepy and you're tired and everything, this is where the sweetness of Imam al-Hussein is experienced. Same thing when it comes for ziyarah. For you find that the Imam says that the institution of ziyarah is that it represents the pledge of allegiance and your bay'ah to the Imam. And hence, you find that when you go for the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein, one of the statements that we utter within the ziyarah of the Imam is Labbaik ya da'i Allah. Labbaik ya da'i Allah. Labbaik meaning what? Do you know, within the construction of Arabic grammar, Labbaik is a response to a call. So you're not initiating a conversation with the Imam. You are actually responding to the call of the Imam. Which call to the Imam are you responding to? We have within the Maqatil on the day of Ashura, a number of times Sayyid al-Shuhada Abu Abdullah stood on the plains of Karbala and he cried out, Hal min nasirin yansuruna, ala min mughithin yughithuna. One of the times that Imam al-Hussein made this call is when his 6-month-old infant was martyred in his arms. Imam al-Hussein, covered in the blood of Ali Asghar or Abdullah al-Radhi', covered in the blood of his infant, cried out, Hal min nasirin yansuruna, is there anyone to come and support me? Now we have within our deen and within our aqidah that the words of a ma'soom imam, the call and the cry of a ma'soom imam is not restricted by time or space. For when Imam al-Hussein called out, Hal min nasirin yansuruna, this call and the response to this call was not restricted to those people who were in the battlefield in Karbala on the day of Ashura in 61 AH. Abadan la. The call of a ma'soom imam is never restricted by time or space. Hence the call of Imam al-Hussein, Hal min nasirin yansuruna, resonates till today. And this cry of the Imam, it is necessary upon us to respond to this call till today. The manner in which we respond to this call of Imam al-Hussein is by performing the ziyarah. And this, ahibba'i, is the logic behind the phrase labbaika ya Hussein. When you go for ziyarah and you say labbaika ya da'i Allah. And the same thing, if you expand the parameters, your presence inside of the masjid, your presence inside of the Imam Barga, to ensure that the dhikr of Imam al-Hussein is not obliterated. This is a response to the call of the Imam, Hal min nasirin yansuruna. Because the goal of Bani Umayyah was to obliterate the dhikr of Imam al-Hussein in entirety. For you find that Imam al-Ridha Ruhi Lahul Fida states that the institution of ziyarah symbolizes your pledge of allegiance and your loyalty. Ya Abu Abdullah al-Hussein Ruhi Lakal Fida, even if I was not there in Karbala to come to your aid and to your assistance, here I am today, showing you and claiming and proving my loyalty towards you. It becomes important that when you are in ziyarah, you connect with Imam al-Hussein on this aspect of loyalty. If I am not at a position in my life or in my faith, and I do not have that much yaqeen where I can say unconditionally I would give my life for you, Ya Abu Abdullah, then the goal is for a person to work on his life and improve his or her life and increase the compliance with the deen in order to get to that stage. And there is no better place to ask than at the shrine of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Ya Abu Abdullah, you help me become more compliant in my life with this deen. And you inspire me. And you find that the most powerful place on earth where you can gain inspiration to reform your life and to abandon the vices of this dunya is the shrine and the haram of Imam al-Hussein. And therefore, you find that the first symbolism and the first representation of the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein is that it symbolizes your bay'ah, number one. Number two, the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein, Ruhi Lahul Fida, symbolizes the expression of gratitude. Ahibba'i, had it not been for the sacrifice of Imam al-Hussein on the day of Ashura, you and I would not have a religion today. We would not have a deen today. Rather, the trace of all monotheistic religions would have been obliterated from the face of this earth. Which is why we say, Assalamu alayka ya waritha Adama Safwatillah, Assalamu alayka ya waritha Nuhin Nabiyillah, Assalamu alayka ya waritha Isa Ruhillah. Why? Warith of all the Anbiya of the past. Imam al-Hussein on the day of Ashura was standing to represent the values and the teachings of all monotheistic religions that Bani Umayyah was out to demolish and obliterate. فأنت, you and I, Ahibba'i, would not have a deen had it not been for the sacrifice of Imam al-Hussein. And we also attest to this reality in the ziyarah of Sayyid al-Shuhada. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر حتى أتاك اليقين. Until you gave your last breath, you upheld the values of salat and you upheld the zakat. With this salat that we recite, we owe gratitude to Imam al-Hussein. Which is why we have within the seerah of the ulama, Sayyid Ahmad al-Khunsari. He was the Imam al-Jama'ah in Tehran, in one of the masajid in Tehran. Imam al-Jama'ah for close to 25 years. It is written in his biography that whenever he would stand up to recite the salat or lead the salat, after iqamah and before takbiratul ihram, between brackets bain al-qawsayn, you know that when you stand up to recite salat, the salat begins with takbiratul ihram. However, we have within our hadith and within our text that it is mustahab to do 6 takbirs, and the 7th takbir becomes your takbiratul ihram. So before you begin your salat, you recite Allahu Akbar 6 times, and the 7th one becomes your takbiratul ihram. These 7 takbirs are actually related to Imam al-Hussein, Ruhi lahul fida, because the hadith mentions that whilst Imam al-Hussein was an infant, Rasulullah recited the takbir 7 times, and on the 7th time Imam al-Hussein also recited the takbir. This is when he was an infant, and the first word to be uttered by Imam al-Hussein in the physical sense was takbir, Allahu Akbar, and he gave his life defending this tawheed. So it is mustahab 7 times. You have a total of 7 takbirs. 6 takbirs mustahab, and the 7th one is your takbiratul ihram. Sayyid Ahmad al-Khunsari, before he would perform his takbiratul ihram, 25 years as Imam al-Jama'ah, when he stood up in the mihrab, before he recited his salat, he would begin by saying, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. One of his people who were reciting salat behind him, they said to him, Sayyidina, why do you say Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah before salat? Sayyid Ahmad al-Khunsari pointed him back to the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein. Ashhadu annaka kad akamta salat. Had it not been for the sacrifice of Imam al-Hussein, this salat that you and I recite would not even exist. Wasarahatan, when you encompass Imam al-Hussein within the institution of salat, and to see how your salat becomes a mi'raj. The quality of your salat tamaman aslan changes the minute you start with 7 takbirs, and before that, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Try. For we said the first institution or the first representation and symbolism of ziyarah is that it reflects your pledge of allegiance, your loyalty, and your covenant to the Imam. Number one. Number two, the ziyarah reflects your gratitude in the sense that you acknowledge that the sacrifice of Imam al-Hussein is the sole reason that you and I have a religion today. Number two. Number three, the ziyarah of Sayyid al-Shuhada is an exhibition of the infinite mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no, and I repeat this, there is no act of worship, regardless from the wajibat or the mustahabbat, there is no act of worship that attracts the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the highest level of abundance like the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein. The doors of the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in its infinite nature are opened up in ziyarah. Before I explain and move into this point, and I want to exhibit to you, demonstrate to you the vastness and the extent of this mercy of Allah that encompasses the Zahir of Imam al-Hussein. But in order to do so, you must go through a small introduction and the reference to the Quran. And you will see how istinbat and methodology comes back to the mercy of Allah within the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein. You find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the introduction. Our end goal is understanding the vastness of the mercy of Allah that encompasses the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein. You find that within the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala outlines for us the grandeur of His creation. And that the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is understood through the grandeur within His creation. So if you were to take, for example, Surah An-Nahl. Surah An-Nahl, verse number 5, I believe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. هو الذي جعل الشمس ضياءً والقمر نوراً وقدره منازل لتعلموا عدد السنين والحساب ما خلق الله ذلك إلا بالحق يفصل الآيات لقوم يعلمون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah An-Nahl says that we have created the sun as a source of light and the moon as well with its radiance. For you find over here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala towards the end of the verse says within the sun and the moon, the sun being a source of light, and then the rest of the verse, the tail end of the verse says that this creation of the sun and the moon within it, there are signs for those who think and ponder. For the intellectual, for the intellect, these are signs through contemplation. When you look at the sun and the fact that the sun is central and plays a central role in the existence of life, and when you look at the perfection within this entire system of creation and how the distance of the earth from sun and how sunlight is necessary for plant and crop to grow and for human life to prosper on earth, through contemplating on these signs, you come to the natija and you come to see the majesty of Allah and the grandeur of Allah. And hence contemplating on the signs of creation and in the perfection within the creation strengthens a person's belief in Tawheed. If we understand this, you see that actually within the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that the sun is a sign through which you are able to recognize your Lord. Similarly to the verse, or similar to the verse that the Qari Muhammad Fahim recited just before the majlis in his beautiful recitation. There was a passage of the verse that he recited that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created mankind with different languages and different colors, different skin tones, such that we may know each other, and indeed within this is the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Different races, different ethnicities. The fact that we have different tones and different skin colors, different languages, different cultures, yet we all emanate from one common father, Adam. Within this is the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Diversity in culture is from the grandeur of Allah, something to contemplate upon. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within this verse of the Quran says that the sun is this means through which it guides you towards the belief in the oneness of Allah. Look at the role of the sun in creation. In addition to everything that is necessary for life, it is a means through which you recognize your Lord, number one. Number two, you come in the world of fiqh. The sun also has a purpose when it comes to the world of fiqh. If you open any of the Tawdi'ul Masail or the Risala Amaliya of any one of the Maraja, and if you were to open the chapter of purity, the chapter of Tahara, you will find that one of those aspects that is a purifier is the sun. So if something is najis, for example, you can purify and make tahir something that is najis through water. You can use sand to purify something that is najis, obviously with all the conditions that are mentioned within the books of fiqh. One of the things that is a purifier is the sun. There are 5 conditions, if I'm not mistaken, according to Sayyid al-Sistani within his Risala, where if a certain thing was najis, it could be made tahir through the sun. So notice the role of the sun in our lives. It is central to life on earth in all its scientific manners. It acts as an agent of tahara in the world of fiqh. Number 3, the role of the sun when it comes to purifying the heart of the Zair of Imam al-Hussein. Ajib. The heart is purified by the sun for the one who is the Zair of Imam al-Hussein. How? Hadith al-Sharif, which is narrated on authority of Maulana Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Ma'soom Imam states, let me read for you the text of this hadith, which is found in Mustadrak al-Wasa'il. And Hadith al-Sharif is at the highest level of i'tibar. Hadith is narrated by Jammal, Safwan al-Jammal, on authority of Abi Abdullah. In Nazair al-Hussein, and those of you shabab who are going for Arba'in, pay attention to this hadith. In Nazair al-Hussein, إذا وقعت الشمس عليه أكلت ذنوبه كما تأكل النار الحطب. The Zair of Imam al-Hussein, when the sun shines upon you, the hadith Imam says, when the sun shines upon you and upon your skin, and you feel the heat of the sun on yourself, Imam says, this sun and its heat eats up your sins just like the way wood is consumed and burned by fire. وَمَا تَبْقِيَ الشَّمْسِ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ ذُنُوبِهِ شَيْئًا. Every time that you stand under the sun and you feel the heat of the sun becomes a reason for your sins to be forgiven. Just like the way you've seen wood, if you were to toss a piece of wood on fire, in a matter of seconds that piece of wood turns into ashes. The person who performs the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein without even doing istighfar by the tongue. Those of you who are going for Arba'in this year, or those of you who went for Arba'in ziyarah last year, you know the heat. This year, mashallah, 47, 48 degrees it is in Najaf al-Ashraf. Fahaniyan, congratulations to those Zawar of Imam al-Hussein who will walk under the heat. More than that, so you notice the sun, central from its scientific perspective in regards to earth on life. The sun becomes one of those means through which Tawheed is understood. The sun is a purifier when it comes to the world of fiqh. And when it comes to the world of imamat and aqidah, the za'ir of Imam al-Hussein, when the sun shines on you, it becomes a reason for istighfar until Imam al-Sadiq says, your sins are forgiven in its entirety. But more than that, heat is accompanied with sweating. Many of us get upset, get irritated when it's 47, 48 degrees and you're sweating to this extent. Look at the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the rahmah of Allah that encompasses the za'ir of Imam al-Hussein. Hadith Sharif narrated by Muhammad bin Mashhadi. إن الله تعالى يخلق من عرق الزوار قبر الحسين. For every bead of sweat that you shed whilst you were visiting Imam al-Hussein, Imam goes on to say, من كل عرقة 70 يخلق من عرق زوار قبر الحسين من كل عرقة 70,000 ملك يسبحون الله ويستغفرون له ولزوار الحسين إلى أن تقوم الساعة. Hadith al-Sharif mentions that the Za'ir of Imam al-Hussein, for every bead of sweat that drips through your body whilst you are performing the ziyarah of Imam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from every bead of sweat, creates 70,000 angels. The role of each and every one of these angels, 70,000 of them, from every bead of sweat, the role and the job of this angel is to perform tasbih and istighfar until the day of judgment, and the thawab of this tasbih and this istighfar returns back to the za'ir of Imam al-Hussein. The rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in its entirety is encompassed within the institution of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Congratulations to those of you who are performing the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to visit Sayyid al-Shuhada in the dunya and to gain his shafa'ah in the akhirah. All of this with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Karbala, Karbala. Karbala is the land of tears. Karbala is this land of ishq. Karbala is this land of huzn. Karbala is this land of Aza. The Maktal mentioned that on Sham-e Ghariban, when all the tents of the women and the children were burnt down to the ground and the possessions of the women were looted, just one daughter of Imam al-Hussein, Sayyida Sukaina, through this black smoke that had encompassed Karbala, she went running out of the Maidan looking for her father. And she said, on this night I want to sleep on the chest of my father. For the narrations mentioned that Sayyida Sukaina went running out into the Maidan, into the Maktal, crying out, oh my father, where are you? She was not able to see the darkness of the night, and all the bodies are decapitated, and Imam al-Hussein is being trampled upon by the horses. Sayyida Sukaina says that I went into the Maidan and I saw a nur emanating from the body of my father, and I recognized my father from this nur. The narrations mention that she threw herself on the body of Imam al-Hussein and she delicately hugged the chest of Sayyid al-Shuhada. She wept until she fainted. The Maktal says over here that Sayyida Sukaina herself says that as I fainted, I heard a voice emanate from the manhar of my father. Allah. Ya Shia, do you know what is the manhar? The manhar is that part of the neck from which the head of Imam al-Hussein was severed from the rest of the body. She says, from this point I heard a cry. And Imam al-Hussein said, oh Sukaina, give my salams to my Shia. Allah wa alayka salam ya Aba Abdullah. And over here Imam al-Hussein then said, oh Sukaina, tell my Shia, Ya Shi'ati mahma sharibtum udhba ma'in fadhkuruni. Oh my Shia, whenever you drink water, remember my thirst. Imam al-Hussein then goes on to say, oh Sukaina, tell my Shia, if you ever see a gharib or you see a shaheed, fandibuni. If you ever hear of a martyr and you ever hear of somebody who is strange in their homelands, then remember me. Imam al-Hussein goes on to say to Sayyida Sukaina, tell my Shia, أنا السبت الذي قتلت بغير جرم. I am that grandson of Rasulullah that was killed without any sin. And Imam al-Hussein says, tell my Shi'as, I am that Imam whose body was trampled upon by the horses after they killed me. But Imam al-Hussein has a special message and a risala for you, Ya Shi'at Amirul Mu'mineen. He says to Sukaina, tell my Shi'as, lady, tell my Shi'as, I wish they were there in Karbala. Ajib ya Aba Abdullah. Why? He says, I wish my Shi'as were there in Karbala so that they could see how I asked for my infant baby's thirst to be quenched, and they refused to have any mercy. Instead of quenching his thirst, they pierced the neck of Abdullah with an arrow. Allah, Allah. Ya Shi'at Ali, the Maktal mentions that when the arrow of Hurmala struck Abdullah al-Radhi, the heat of the arrow was such that the baby began to flutter its arms in the chest of its father, like the way a baby moves. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Allahumma inna nas'aluka bi Muhammadin wa Ali وفاطمة والحسن والحسين والأئمة الراشدين من آل طه وياسين. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج يا الله. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج يا الله. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج يا الله. بحق محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وبحق سيد الشهداء. By the sake of Sayyid al-Shuhada, Ya Allah, mu'mineen and mu'minat who are gathered over here to uphold the dhikr of Imam al-Hussein, do not let anybody leave this blessed Imam Barga in Masjid except that you have fulfilled their hajat, Ya Allah. By the sake of Sayyid al-Shuhada, mu'mineen and mu'minat who are not in the best of health, you grant them shafa'a, Ya Allah. By the sake of Sayyid al-Shuhada, mu'mineen and mu'minat who are going for the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein and the ziyarat al-Arba'in, you grant them the tawfiq to do so and make easy for them their affairs, Ya Allah. Those mu'mineen and mu'minat who are still putting their affairs together and are struggling to put their orders into affairs such that they may go for the ziyarah, you make easy for them their affairs, Ya Allah. By the sake of Imam al-Hussein, Ya Allah, forgive us our sins on a night like this. By the sake of Imam al-Hussein, inspire us in our compliance towards the deen, Ya Allah. وآخر الدعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. يقول الله تعالى في كتابه الحكيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.